Angela, can you or the officers behind you confirm that her phone, Kiely's phone, the last ping was near the water?
Yeah, the ping for the data points and everything were near the water. It's hard to tell an exact pinpoint or anything like that, but just as much on land as it was on water.
That's what I was told, is that it was near the water and searches took place near that vicinity. Are those going to continue?
Yeah, today we have 226 searchers, a pretty astronomical number. I think the overhead team at the search and rescue, they deployed out all 226 members within about an hour, and so that's a pretty big feat on its own. They've extensively been planning and prepping overnight so that when people get here, we're ready to roll. The area has been walked, driven, flown, grid searched. They're getting into tighter grid searching to, at this point we're looking for small and anything evidence-wise, as opposed to cars, people, things of that nature, even phones. We're trying to make it even tighter. We had swimmers we announced the other day that actually did surface swimming, so we don't want to disturb the water even underneath, because that can cause its own problems. And divers have been deployed at this point as well to assist in the search, and it's been pretty thorough overall. But yeah, we continue to look for that item as well. Just because it was last pinged there, that doesn't mean that that's where the phone stopped being. There's lots of reasons of why those notifications or data points could be lost.
Could you tell us what body of water and what time that last ping was?
The Prosser Lake is where we're focused on right now. But again, that doesn't mean that that's the last location. So,
when was the ping that you had?
I think the last location known that we've put out, from I think day one is around 12:30 in the morning.
There was, this morning I was out by Prosser and there was a dive team from Alameda. But just a few feet to the side there were people recreating and people going by in a canoe. Are you not afraid about them disturbing any possible evidence that could be there?
Yeah, you balance this, shut everybody out, and we don't have evidence to say that there's something that we're going to locate. Are you better off having more eyes in the area or not? There's times where we have shut down areas. We closed off the boat ramp at one point in time to cover like certain area and ground and things like that. So there's always a concern, but we also don't have like a, hey, this is the area. And so at what point do you cut off the entire Forest Service and things of that nature? So I think we've been reasonable with the areas, and times we've had to put in stop gaps to prevent people from moving around, but we do that based off of information. More people around gives us information, but they've been recreating throughout that lake since long before, and so it is tough. A diving operation like that is really almost like you're going into the water blind, and they're basically searching with hands, because once you start maneuvering the ground, it's like going through mud. So these are tough operations, and there is no right answer for everything, but that's always a concern. Everything is.
Do you know about how deep it is right now? Because the water level is so low, below the natural level.
The deepest point for Prosser that I was told was 57 feet.
Thank you.
Did you have divers out there today and swimmers today?
Divers, yes, today. I don't know if they have swimmers out today. Swimmers was a precaution so that we could ensure, to clarify, because there's so many levels to this. We had boats, we had side sonars, which allow you to see things, certain types of fish finders, which can go lower down into the water. But at that point, we still hadn't touched the ground or anything like that. So swimmers on the surface allowed to use masks and see things without murking up the water, just to cover if there's something you could see. Because once you touch the ground, you could potentially have all that earth come back up over any kind of evidentiary item. So divers were the last case scenario in the attempt, because for the most part, you could go in over and over and over again, but potentially you get one shot at it. And so trying to use a phased approach that makes the most sense and gets us to where we want to be.
And my apologies, I'm new to the area. How large is that lake?
I don't know. It's not a very big lake overall. It's a man-made reservoir, and I believe as large as it is, I believe we have extremely good coverage on that lake as well.
Okay. And what's the name of the dive team?
There's a lot of teams out there, so I don't know specifically. I know Alameda was mentioned. I don't know which all teams were brought in, simply because they all showing up today, and then some have been added. But I can tell you that numerous agencies from all over California are coming up to assist. 226 searchers is a pretty large number. We're expecting the same tomorrow.
Do you expect to go back in the water tomorrow?
Depending. I mean, it all depends on coverage, right? We want to use our resources for the best purposes. There's bodies of water that we're also interested in. We've been checking, but we have to have purpose and reason for what we're using our searchers for.
Are you also calling on the public to help in these like land searches, maybe terrain searches, or is it just law enforcement right now?
Our searchers are volunteers, the majority of them, but they also go through a training. So Cal OS has a typing system, so when the sheriff's office is going to utilize searchers for a specific purpose, they have to be trained up, they have to have all these things, and they're covered under what's called a disaster service worker. So workers' comp is picked up by the state in case of things that could go wrong or injuries and whatnot, where we wouldn't be able to supply that for people in the public. And so we don't give direction, but we also provided a mapping system, CalTopo, which is a free app that anybody can download, but we've also included a map that is here locally at the family's trailer here in the rec yard or the rec center parking lot. It has a map, QR code, and then people can see where other people have searched and also contribute to the tracks.
Oh, I just have one question regarding the CalTopo. Captain Brown, the other day you had mentioned that you were trying to also put into place a way for people to upload like GPS coordinates of where they've been and that kind of thing. Is that in place yet?
I believe that is in place, and I want to say that there was a mechanism designed and should be, I can follow up with it too and get back with you, but at the trailer I believe we had members out there to give people some instruction. There was also a system set up so that we could take the tracks, download them. Marin County was helping us to process those and get them entered. So I believe that's happened. It's through the same app, yeah.
Great.
So ultimately somebody who used a GPS unit can save those tracks, and then those can be uploaded at a later time. It doesn't have to be done through like the live tracking that's being utilized. But I've looked at the map. There are people going out. They are using it, and I think that it's helpful in a big way. But people keep asking, should I go where those tracks are? Should I not? I don't know, because somebody could walk right by a car or a person and not even know it, and that happens lots of searches and lots of times. And so there is no direction, because if I had somewhere I would send teams. We have 226 people I would send to that location, but we don't. So we just encourage people that if they see something, let us know, and then we can help follow up and look at it. Don't touch things if you see something and you're concerned about it, but let us know. And to follow on what Lieutenant Barnhart said, the search and rescue, of course, is going to have to tailor back at some point in time. But our teams, even today, this morning, are building out plans that go well beyond any point of time and continually expand. And when that time does come, we'll work on plans of how do we continue to make sure we're up in the area and having a presence, because much like the investigative side, it never stops and never ends. And this is a highly recreated area, so I would just encourage people to keep their eyes out and keep looking around, and let us know if they see something. Even if it's small or little, we'll come take a look and see if it helps us piece things together. Good afternoon, everybody. So obviously our search for Kiely continues, and we're trying to do the best that we can to keep things moving in a positive way and attempt to find some clues and locate some idea of where we need to get to. We've been working pretty close with the family, trying to make sure that we're providing them with up-to-date information, but also try to protect from a lot of the ups and downs that have occurred throughout this whole ordeal. We are still looking for any clues, videos, tips, any information to help us to put pieces together and help us to direct where we're going and how we're going to continue to do a search. We are moving into a more limited but continuous search and rescue effort. We've pulled in a ton of resources towards that goal, and I think to date we've had over like 9,000 man hours into searching, which is pretty astronomical. Our biggest problem is where do we go and how do we keep sustaining this? And so we do have some plans that were continued. Our team, our overhead team, worked extremely hard into long hours and continues to work to this day on creating plans that we can continue to follow up on. But we are going to have to switch modes and kind of focus on the investigative end and try to figure out where do we go from there. We still want all eyes and ears out there. We're coming into hunting season. We're hoping for people to have eyes out all over the place, and we're going to continue to put all of our efforts in as a unified command and continue to try to do our best as we move forward. So in the last 10 days that we've been searching, there's been an incredible effort. There's too many agencies, too many people to thank, but it has been pretty astronomical, the resources from air support to ground support to divers and swimmers and you name it, and we probably called and asked for it. And I would say that the majority of resources came in a relatively quick period of time. As we start to transition into more of the background investigative stuff that's been going on and really putting emphasis on that, we continue to work with the detectives. The Nevada County Sheriff's Office is highly invested in that end, as we have been from the very beginning, and we're going to continue to try to do the best that we can to keep things moving forward. The biggest thing that I'd like to say from our end on the search effort is we really appreciate the outpouring of support that's been from the community, from the family, and everything that's been going on. The community members and even folks from outside the community coming in to help look for Kiely and continue doing that search on their own as well is extremely important and has helped us with a lot of, hey, where should we go and how do we do it? I've never seen such great support, but I want to make sure that everybody stays in a positive mode and continues to move forward, because we still need people to have their eyes and ears out there and keep working towards the goal. And our goal, which has never changed from the beginning, is to find Kiely Rodni. Thanks.
I have a question from the public, from my listeners.
Sure.
That went out and searched and used the CalTopo, and they want to ask that in what capacity have you used their searches within your searches there, Captain Brown?
Yeah, JD, thanks. That's a great question, and I would still put emphasis that even as the search goes into a limited and continuous mode, that map is still accessible. So anybody that's going out for the length of time that we don't have answers, I would recommend logging on and throwing those tracks out there. So ultimately, when search and rescue operates, there's an overhead team that designs plans and creates them. And we do that based off of information from the investigation, information from the map that folks are going out and using. That doesn't necessarily mean, though, that we don't go out and say search that same area, which is also why we told people, that it doesn't matter if we went and searched somewhere. If you go and search it again, you could literally be standing on a cliffside and not see something that's on the other side based on trees and terrain and rocks and all kinds of various things. And it's happened in many searches and in many areas, and so that still remains a huge possibility. But those tracks are taken into consideration as they come in of, okay, what kind of resource or what kind of push do we go, and is there really good coverage, and is the land flat, then that might indicate something, versus if on a topographical map, if there's more slant and slope, and even though people may have walked on the top end, maybe we still need air support to get better eyes on it. But I would say that it has been a tremendous tool. It was fairly innovative from the team that's doing things, and CalTopo for us for search and rescue has always been a huge help, and just adding more tracks and more information doesn't always give us the answers, but it gives us an idea of direction and things. But yeah, it has been helpful in the event that the community is like, why are we doing this? We know we haven't released any maps. We're still not choosing to do that at this time. At a certain point, we may choose to do that, but it's been discussed, and it really doesn't give any benefit or help, because we don't have a direction or clue of where to go anyway. So everybody's pretty familiar with where the epicenter of this all occurred, and it is worldwide from that point, expanding out of where do you go. So thank you, though, for that. Yeah, thanks. The question is which agency requested. I'm not exactly sure that an agency had reached out and requested from within our unified command, but as everybody's reading online and seeing all the information that was coming out, and we realized that there was an interest from Adventures with Purpose, we did link up that group with Sergeant Mike Powers with the Placer County Sheriff's Office. They had lots of communication as they were going to be traveling to this area, and then a lot of detailed information that was shared that wasn't necessarily out to the public yet, that hopefully was of assistance to helping them locate the area to go to.
You said the car was found in the area where you've been searching since the beginning. What did AWP have that maybe you guys didn't have, or why was that missed in the initial search?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. That's one that everybody's going to have, right? Is how did we not find it when we were searching? The lake was extensively searched with side sonar, with an ROV. We had divers, we had swimmers. I think that's part of what we're going to have to go back to do and debrief. when peace officers are out in the field and volunteers and searchers, it doesn't mean that they're experts in the field, right? These are sometimes ancillary duties, and we're calling from other agencies to try to jump in. And tracking underwater is an extremely difficult thing to do. So I think part of our debrief on any of these situations is how do we figure out to improve our services, work on our resources and the way that we use them. A lot of this equipment is high-end, very expensive, and you really need to have a lot of practice and expertise. And I think that's where a group like Adventures with Purpose is able to focus and practice those skills and really hone them. And so we're appreciative that they were able to come out and locate it. I also don't want to take away, though, from anything from our volunteers as well as law enforcement that have been out there. I mean, we literally had people swimming in the water looking down so that we didn't disturb the ground initially. My understanding is the vehicle was upside down. That also makes it more difficult. And if silt and things come up above, that can also make things difficult. So before I really can say, hey, why we weren't able to do it, I also could say that we eliminated a lot of areas that we would still be searching if we didn't have all the great people out there. And that helped give them some guidance as well, I think. But clearly their expertise in diving and their equipment that they brought to the table assisted us, and we appreciate that.
Do they specifically have any specific technology that all of these 16 law enforcement agencies didn't have?
I'll have to debrief with them before I'd have the answer to that question. I believe we're going to try to do that today.
Adventures with a Purpose has referenced red tape a couple times, saying they don't have the red tape that maybe your assisting agencies have. What is that red tape, and why might it be easier for a private organization to do this?
I don't know exactly what we're talking about in regards to red tape. I think that from the very beginning, we never deterred anybody other than certain scenes that we closed off at times that became areas of interest and we wanted to protect for evidence. So I don't know that there was any red tape ever put on this. I mean, if you look at the amount of man hours that went into it, it was like over 15,000, and I know it's even higher than that now. I don't think there was ever red tape. There were maps created for civilians to be out. The boat ramp in the lake were never actually shut down, because the way we were looking at it is more eyes out there, the better off we're going to be for finding Kiely, and that was continually the goal. So I'm not sure that there was ever red tape. I think it comes down to lots of factors, and like I said, we're going to debrief and try to figure out how do we become better and do a better job at these types of operations.
Why did agencies believe it was an abduction at first?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of miscommunication. I don't know that it was ever labeled as an abduction. I think that you can never take that off the table, and so as we talked as a command group and unified command with all my partners that you see behind us, you couldn't remove that off the table because we hadn't found her. And so, that was some of the struggles with some of the services that we wanted to obtain and things we wanted to do, but we couldn't say it wasn't an abduction, but we also never said that it was an abduction. I think that was clarified fairly early on, but we also probably wouldn't have received all the services and all the people if that wasn't an option. If this was truly a search and rescue mission, we may not have had all the resources to conduct interviews. I think they identified over 400 juveniles, and to be able to interview all of those folks and provide feedback off of all that, it takes an army of people, and I think we were lucky to be able to put that together between my partners and agencies that are right behind me.
Did any of the juveniles, anybody mention a car going over the side, a car in the water, out of all those?
I don't believe that statement was made, not to my knowledge.
Was there any indication that this was an accident or foul play?
That's still being investigated. If we'd like, we could turn it over for CHP can give some information. They are conducting the accident investigation utilizing their MATE team.
Before Adventures with Purpose went out there this weekend, when was the last time that we had swimmers or divers from any of these 16 agencies out there searching in that area?
I'd defer back to the Nevada County Sheriff for that question. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say that we actually have had divers, not necessarily in Prosser, but in lots of bodies of water up until even the days that they were there. There were many ponds that we were following up on Coldstream, as well as other bodies of water. So I don't know that dive teams ever discontinued. It was more of trying to still follow up on all of those things. And I believe Adventures with Purpose also had been diving at other lakes as well within the area.
Is there any time from the time that Adventures with Purpose started to how long it took them to find the car?
You're talking on Prosser Lake specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was relatively quickly, but I don't have an exact time. Like, again, we're going to have to debrief with them, figure out, between putting equipment down, getting in the water, and identifying where the car was at.
Can you talk about what happened last night in terms of taking the car out? What kind of law enforcement was there? And what happened last night?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the law enforcement partners you see behind me were present during that time, trying to do the best they could for ensuring that everything was done correctly, and also trying to add some levels of privacy to the best of the ability in worrying about the family and ensuring that they were covered as well. But I mean, beyond that, I don't know what your specific question is asking. But
Logistically, how do you get a car out that's offshore? How does that happen, and then where does the car go? What happens? What
Yeah.
happens from last night to when you arrived to today?
yeah, so once the car was located, dive teams were assembled. I believe Placer County was probably still the primary dive team. They have to use lots of devices to lift the car, turn it over, and then the use of tow trucks was what made it possible for pulling the vehicle out of the water. And the vehicle is taken down. The FBI has offered up assistance and are going to be helping to conduct investigation regarding the vehicle itself, and making sure that we don't miss something that may be in there that we're not aware of.
Are you guys confident the car was in the water since the night of the party?
I have no reason to believe that it wasn't, but until we have those answers, I wouldn't know the answer to it.
Can you just clarify as far as what teams had been in that area before Adventures with Purpose, if any, on that specific, on Prosser?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost so many that it would be hard to link out between the different teams. There were numerous boats, Yuba County, Alameda, Nevada County, Placer County. Swimmers came from Washoe County. We had divers from every single one of those agencies and then some. I mean, it was a vast amount of people. And I would just say, unless you've conducted these types of searches and try to do it, it does take a level of expertise, and nothing's perfect. When you fly a helicopter over the air trying to identify if something is there, most places give that less than a 5% probability of detection, meaning if you flew over, you only have a 5% chance of seeing something. You had trees and brush and bushes and dirt and all these other things, and it becomes a pretty difficult task. Even though once you find the answer, on hindsight, everything looks 20/20, the reality is it's not that simple. It is pretty complex and it's tough. So again, we're just appreciative that the resources came out and were able to help us in locating it.
Were there signs that the person in the car tried to escape?
I think that's too preliminary for us to be able to determine that at this time.
Was there more than one body in the vehicle?
No, there was not more than one body in the vehicle.
Describe the difficulty of what water does over 2 weeks to evidence.
It depends. That's a complicated question. I'm not an expert in water. However, temperature of the water and things like that come into play. But it can add difficulty based on many factors that can cause damage to, obviously, things that we want to look at to investigate, but also to bodies that may have been submerged for a period of time.
There likely could have been tire tracks or some type of signal that a car did go into the water there. Did rain impact that? Did this heavy activity in the area impede seeing those signs?
I think everything is a factor, but again, that's where we rely on the MATE team from CHP to come in with their expertise and be able to provide some of those answers.
And it seems that Adventures with Purpose have pretty sophisticated equipment. Is this something that the agencies here have, or you all still need?
Yeah, I'll have to debrief with them to figure out what equipment exactly they use to see if it's items that we have or if it's a matter of training with the items that we have. So until we talk to them and know exactly what they used and how they went about it, I wouldn't be able to answer that correctly.
They also said the car was 14 feet deep. Did y'all go that far to look for the car?
Yeah, some of that information is sometimes deceiving. So yeah, the car was reported at 14 or 15 feet. However, the water level since the 6th has also dropped a vertical 3.5 to 4 feet, which could be 20 to 25 feet off of shore. So a lot of things have changed in those aspects. Until we really can look into all that information and sort through it, it's difficult to say whether those factors had a play in it or not. I think it's still more important for us to debrief, look at training, look at equipment, look at tools, and look at outside entities that are experts, where this is maybe their full-time gig that they do, and try to see how we have that involvement from the community to come out and help support.
At this time, can you tell if there are any signs of foul play?
At this time, we're not going to be able to say anything like that.
It's been said that people were drinking at the party that night. Was anything found in the car that could lead you to believe that she was drinking that, where the person found was?
Yeah, the investigation's ongoing, so we're not going to be able to comment on that.
It seems like where they found the car, it might have been pretty far from the road. Do you have suspicions that maybe the people were parking on that little island?
I wouldn't be able to comment on that either unless somebody gave some statements to that. I hadn't heard any information like that, though.
Do you have any theories as to how the car got in the water, and also what gear was the car found in?
I think if I make up theories, then I'm just guessing, and I'm going to lead us back into a trail that's not certain. So we'll wait until we have those facts and details. And as far as the car, we're not going to release any information until we've done a solid investigation on it.
Who received the first call from Adventures with Purpose, and what was that call like?
I don't know that we received a first call. I think we reached out to them after we read it online. And so I'm not sure, I mean, again, with 150 law enforcement officials, it's possible that a call came in and something happened. But from the Unified Command and talking with my partners, none of us were aware of an initial. So we tasked the investigative sergeant with contacting them and reaching out. So I believe, best I know, we did that proactively on our end.
And they contacted the family?
I think there's still some sketchy details on exactly how that contact went out. So I don't want to speak on behalf of the family.
What was it when you heard, you personally, when you heard that they might have found the car? What went through your head?
Well, I think what we all are thinking, which is hopefully this is true, and we got a lot of work ahead of us to make sure that we still do right by the family. Our biggest concern is making sure that the family has been aware of everything from day one, and that we're not shielding them, but we're also not bombarding them with things. There's a lot of ups and downs throughout this investigation, a lot of emotional turns throughout the whole thing, and our goal was to make sure we're supportive of the family throughout this whole task and doing our best in that.
Go
ahead, sir.
There was a report that Adventures with Purpose was told by police that they did not need to search Prosser, or at least in the specific area where the car was found, because that had been extensively searched already. Is that true?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably not accurate, and we shared maps, ping information, and locations, and so we probably shared that was extensively searched, and sonar was used, and that may add to the level of where they chose to go to first or last. However, nothing was prevented or shared, and I don't believe that we gave any indication that we thought we knew where she was at, because clearly from all of our daily press releases, we reported over and over again that we didn't know where she was at, and we needed anybody's help and assistance in finding that location.
But you were working in partnership with Adventure with Purpose?
Yeah, I believe that what ultimately occurred was that our sergeant was able to make contact with them, Sergeant Powers with the Placer County Sheriff's Office, come up with a plan and share information on where things were at. And so we're still appreciative, like I said, of them being able to locate the vehicle.
Will they get the cash reward for helping find the vehicle and the body?
It's not a question I'll be able to answer. Yeah.